Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be sharing with you all the books that you need to complete your first year of medical school. I think it's perfect to already have your books before you start school, so you don't have to fumble about what to get, where to get it, how to get it. So once you have them before school, it's a good place to start. The semester is really short, so by the time you know it, the semester ends already, so you don't want to spend some extra time wondering which books to get. So I'm going to tell you guys all that and more, all the books that were recommended to me by the university that I attend, and also the books that my peers and myself use. So yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a tea. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Tiana Goulbourne. I'm a second year medical student at the University of the West Indies. I'm here to just give you guys all the advice that you need pertaining to the books and materials. So if I have left anything out by the end of this video, feel free to leave a comment, ask questions. And if you're already a medical student and you've passed this level, then be sure to let me know anything I left out or anything that might be helpful to first year students. So with all that said, let's get into the video. I'm going to leave the links in the description box for all these textbooks. But to be honest with you guys, I mostly use the online versions or the PDF versions for these books just because I was just not ready to pay for all of these, and I just thought it would just save me a lot. But if you prefer to have the hard copies, then I'll leave the links for you. So for a little bit of structure, I'm going to start with semester 1 and then move on to semester 2. So starting with semester 1, the first course I want to talk about is the musculoskeletal system. The musculoskeletal system is one of those courses that are going to be a lot more new to you, especially if you've never done anatomy as an undergrad student. A lot of first year students take this very seriously, and I would recommend to start studying this early because this requires repetition in order for it to stick. So the recommended text for us was Last Anatomy, Regional and Applied. You basically need to code some things from the book and just know them by heart. So the Last Anatomy is our recommended text along with a good atlas. They recommended the DiFiores Atlas, and I think this is a very good one. It's very precise and it shows you pictures that are a lot more animated, so it really helps with learning the material, especially since you're going to be new to it. But I'd also like to recommend a few other books that my peers and I use to just assist with this process, and that includes the Vishram upper limb and thorax along with the abdomen and lower limb. Another good one is the McMinns Clinical Atlas of Human Anatomy, and the reason why I think this is so helpful is because it's a little bit more realistic than the DiFiores Atlas. The DiFiores is great, but it's just animated. The McMinns shows the human body in a more realistic light, so when you actually go to the anatomy lab, then you'll be able to identify these structures. And when you do your spotters or when you're assessed, then you'll be able to just easily identify this part of the body, because trust me, the way it looks in the animated version is just not the same when you go in the anatomy lab. So I think those books are also helpful along with the recommended text. The next one is Cell Biology, and the recommended text was Lippincott's Illustrated Review Biochemistry. To be real with you guys, Cell Biology, you just have to take any material you can get from your friends or from your med sibling, because this can be a really time-consuming course. There are so many processes, so many cycles that you need to memorize, and so it can be a little bit dense for a person who's just not used to doing biochemistry. So I would say to get any help that you can get, because it can go a long way with helping you to do well in the course. So along with that, we also use Ninja Nerd. In my opinion, he's a very good tutor. So he has a YouTube channel, and I use his channel to just help me to process the information taught to me a little bit better. So I would recommend watching his videos if you are also a visual learner, or if you just like to take your time to get to know the course a little bit more in depth, or if you just need a little help with remembering the cycles. Fundamentals of Disease and Treatment, aka FDT. This one is a big one, especially for first years, because this is a 6-credit course and the rest of the courses are 3 or 4 credits. This is because it's multidisciplinary. You have the pharmacology, the pathology, and the microbiology. So these things are all combined into one course, which is FDT. So I would recommend to not neglect this course. A lot of people do and end up not being able to pass, because if you don't do well on a 6-credit course, it really just drags the GPA to the ground. So yeah, I would say to do your best with this one and try not to neglect it. The recommended text for pathology was the Robbin's Basic Pathology, and this is because just starting off with pathology, they wanted us to use a book that's a little bit more simplified. So that's the book that was recommended to us, along with the Rangandale Pharmacology. So this book is very dense. I don't think it was the easiest to read, but that's the recommended text given to us. Our lecturers referred to that many times, so that's the one that we used. For the microbiology aspect, our lectures were sufficient. A key thing would be to pay attention to the pictures and listen to your lectures, because sometimes they drop hints on what they want to test you on. So keep an ear out for what they say to go over and make sure that you know. In their little way, they're trying to help us. So pay attention to what your lecturers say that you need to know and just write it down and review that later. The next one is Introduction to Embryology and Histology. This is somewhat similar to FDT because it's a combination of 2 disciplines, embryology and histology. For histology, I think we had a very good lecturer. His material was very much sufficient in order for us to pass our finals exams. But the book recommended to us, and one which is really good, is the DiFiores Atlas of Histology with Functional Correlations. And for embryology, the recommended text was Langman's Medical Embryology. I think this book is a really good read, but the thing about embryology is that it requires a little bit more attention to detail, and so some things are often overlooked, and we are often tested on the things that might be overlooked. And for the last one of semester 1, Introduction to Medical Practice, aka IMP. IMP has 2 parts, so you start it in semester 1 and you also do another part in your second year. So you're going to start IMP as well as cell biology in your first semester, but your finals exam will be in your second semester. So for IMP, the recommended text was the Macleod's Clinical Examinations. This book is a keeper, especially for when you're going to be doing it in year 2. So I'd recommend keeping it around. I would also recommend making sure to go to your workshops. So IMP has workshops that are provided to us. These are going to be mandatory, of course, but you want to be sure to always be there and not try to find an excuse not to go. These workshops are very interactive. They teach you about practical aspects such as taking blood pressure and interacting with your patient and taking history, how to cope with certain emergencies and so on. So I think those things are very important, and they do test you on your finals exams as is to be expected. So I recommend making sure to go to your workshops, but not only to attend, to also pay keen attention to what your lecturers have to say or to what your tutors have to say. The cardiovascular system is one of your system-based courses which will begin in semester 2 but will not be assessed until year 2, semester 1. The way they started us off with this is basically learning the anatomy of the cardiovascular system. The materials that I reached for were the Atlas and also the last regional anatomy, and of course the lecture notes were important as well. The respiratory system is another system-based course that will begin and end in your second semester. So this is also multidisciplinary. It covers the pharmacology, the anatomy, the histology, the pathology, the medicine, and also physiology. So as you can see, it's kind of dense, so you don't want to focus solely on one aspect of the course. And for this reason, I'm going to recommend a list of books to cover these aspects. The Rangandale was recommended for pharmacology, the Robbin's Basic Pathology, the DiFiores Atlas of Histology with Functional Correlations, and for physiology, I recommend the Guyton Hall Medical Physiology, but I know a few persons who use the GANONGS review of medical physiology. The Guyton Hall is the recommended one by our lecturers, so you can use that one. That's the one I use personally, but you can use the GANONGS because I know a few persons who do use that book. And what I want to recommend is have a balanced approach to this course. Don't focus solely on the anatomy or focus solely on the pathology. take everything in and try to make a link between each discipline, and it'll make sense to you, I promise. Haematology and the reticular endothelial system is one of those courses that you will meet again. There's a unit in your second semester, but you also meet again in third year, and I'm told fourth year when you do Path and Microbe. But this course, you want to get the latest version of the recommended text, which is the Hoffbrand and Petit Essential Haematology. This book is going to be very important because the lecturers like to refer to this book, and also haematology is very particular about numbers. For example, white blood cell count or red blood cell count, what's normal, what's abnormal, and so you want to have the most up-to-date textbooks because this can be very confusing if you're using the old version and your lecturer is referring to the new versions and you see the difference with numbers and you're wondering what's going on. So try to keep the up-to-date version, and the textbook is a really good one. I'd recommend taking the time out to read it because it just goes into detail regarding the objectives for that particular course. For Neuroscience 1, and I say Neuroscience 1 because you're going to be doing Neuroscience 2 in your second year, but that aside, Neuroscience 1 covers physiology and pharmacology. You may have a list anatomy, but it's limited to none. Our lecturer specifies what she wants us to learn, so she told us to use her lecture notes as a guide to research or just use her lecture notes to study because that's what she wants us to know. But the recommended text is the Guyton and Hall Physiology, so you can use that textbook. It's a really good one, it explains in detail. But our lecturer said her lecture notes are sufficient to pass the course. And finally, healthcare concepts. This is a psychiatry-based course which includes theories and community health. For this course, the lecture notes and compiled notes were great because at this point the lecturers give us what we need to know at this level, because as you may know, psychiatry can be a very complex course, so they basically tell us that these lecture notes will be sufficient and our compiled notes as well. So this is what myself and my peers use to pass the course, and I also believe will be sufficient for you. And that's it for all the courses. I hope that this was helpful. This is a summary of all the books I mentioned and that I think will be helpful for you. If you are an upcoming student and I missed a few details, be sure to ask questions in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer. And also, if you've passed that level, let me know what materials you use to pass your courses or what helped you. Feel free to supplement these books with online material such as Blue Link, Medicosis, Ninja Nerd, the U.W.I Surgical Society, which is on campus to help students with anatomy and so on. And if you've made it so far in the video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I wish you guys all the best and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.